Hi everyone, this is Flavi. I hope you all are doing well. Given the current circumstances, we need to adapt to different ways of learning. And I guess some of you are still in the holiday spirit. Well, you cannot abandon studies altogether, isn't it? So today, let's see what we have in store for us to learn. If you see the first slide here, there is mind your language in that picture. So from that, you can tell it's something to do with what we speak and how we speak. Yes, sometimes we tend to goof up English while speaking, but that's okay. To err is human and to forgive is divine, isn't it? So today we will be correcting those mistakes by learning something new. And what is that? We will be learning commonly confused words. And it's important to be aware of these mistakes because by getting them right, we will be able to build our language and also make our English supercharged. Okay, so let's just have a quick run through some of the commonly confused words and let's try to get a hang of it. Okay, so the first set of words that we have here is accept versus accept. Now, this is a very common mistake that we find because when you see the spellings, when you look at the words, they look very similar. And when you pronounce the word or when you say the words, they sound very similar too, right? And that's why people tend to mismatch the words in the sentences. But if you understand the meaning, if you get the meaning right, I tell you, you're not going to go wrong with it again. Okay, so let's understand the meanings first. First word, accept. Accept is to agree on something or to take something. Do you accept my invitation? Right? So the example says, I don't have any money. Do you accept credit cards? Do you take credit cards? So that's the meaning for accept. Next, accept. Now, accept means leaving out something or omitting something. And you have the example, we accept all methods of payment except for credit cards. Now, if you see the example here, you have both the words. You have accept, you have accept, right? So make sure that you're putting the right word in the right place. Okay, understand the meaning? Then I tell you, you will get this right all the time. Fine. Now let's move on to the next slide. Here we have house versus home. And if I ask someone, where are you going? And if the person replies, I am going to house. I am going to house. Well, I've heard many people say this, but you have to omit the preposition to and you should always use the word home. Where are you going? I am going home. But you can say, what is the difference? House is the same place I go. Home is the same place I go. But there is a difference because when we are talking about the house is more materialistic. It's more about the exterior. It's more about the building. But when you're talking about home, it's more about the the feelings that you have inside the house. Home is the feelings that you have inside the house. That is love, affection, your bond with the family. All this is what is considered as home. So we don't say house. So that's why we write home sweet home. We don't write house sweet house. We write home sweet home. Okay, and on the other side for the house, we don't say we construct home. We say we construct the house. Okay, so that's the difference between these two words. So next time when you're using it, make sure you use the right word. Okay, so let's go on to the next word. So here are two words, and often these two words are written with incorrect spellings in the sentences, and that is because we have the incorrect pronunciation for both these words. We tend to use the same pronunciation for both the words. But if we correct the pronunciation next time, we're not going to make that mistake. Okay, so let's see what the first word is. First word is something to do with a place with sand. Okay, the second word tells you something about a sweet that is eaten after a meal. Okay, the pronunciation for the first word goes like this. Desert, desert. The camels are found in the desert. The second word, dessert, dessert. We like to eat dessert after a meal. First word, desert, high pitch. The second word, dessert, low pitch. So when you get your pronunciation right, that is when you will be able to write the correct spellings in these two words. Okay, so practice this pronunciation for both the words, and next time I'm pretty sure you will get your spellings right in the sentences. Okay, so let's move on to the next word. Yes, we have another set of interesting words here, and if you look at it, it's very similar to accept and accept, right? But here, what matters is the pronunciation as well as the meaning. Okay, there we saw only the meaning. Here, the pronunciation also matters because both these words are pronounced in a different way. The advice with a C is pronounced as advice, advice. Now the C here is making the S sound. Now the next word, advise, advise. Now S here is making the Z sound or the Z sound. Okay, so there is a difference in the pronunciation of both these words. Now coming to the meaning of advice is your opinion. Tammy, I need your advice on my outfit. So she's asking her opinion, her idea. Okay, advice with C is about opinion. Next, I advise you to change it immediately. So advise with an S, the meaning for it is recommending, directing, or guiding. That is the meaning for advise with the Z sound. So that's the difference between advise and advise. So think before you use the correct spellings in your sentences. It's very tricky, but if you pay a little attention, you can get this right. Okay, so let's see what we have. Here we have affect versus effect. Very confusing, isn't it? Most of the words that we are looking into are following the same pattern, and that's the reason why we are making mistakes with these words, right? But today we are going to get rid of all these mistakes and we're going to become the pros in not committing mistakes, at least with these words that we have here. So affect versus effect. Now this nothing to do with the pronunciation. It's very obvious that we have A and E. Now what matters here is the meaning. Affect. Affect here means, remember this, cause. You must have heard cause and effect. Cause and effect, right? Affect here means cause, causing something. The lockdown has affected many people, right? It's caused a lot of trouble. Lockdown has affected many people. Cause. Moving on to effect. Effect is always the result. Result of the effect. Okay? Effect is the result. The lockdown has affected our economy. In the loss of our economy. The lockdown has affected in the loss of our economy. So that is the result. Now you know the difference between the meanings of these two words. So next time you have to use it by thinking about the cause and the result. Think it this way, cause and result. Okay, next. We have emigrate versus immigrate. So you must have come across this word immigrate in the airports, immigration department or immigration queues, right? So that is what we're going to learn today, the difference between these two. Now, what is this emigrate? Think of it this way. Emigrate means you leave your country and go and settle down in another country. And you become a green card holder there. You're not going to come back to your home country. You leave your country and go and settle in another country. That is, you emigrate. Emigrate. Now coming to immigrate. Immigrate, you're leaving your country, you're going to another country, but you're just going there for a living. You can come back anytime. You can go as a tourist, you can go as a worker there, but you can come back. And one way to remember the spellings of these two is that I have to show you this. So you have I here, isn't it? I, both the I's you have here. Now think of it in this way. Going and coming back immediately. Going and coming back immediately. So when you're coming back, you remember this I and immediate, then you should use immigration or immigrate. So that's a small trick that you can follow here to remember the difference between these two words. Okay, interesting, isn't it? So you need to find your own tricks or ways to remember such things, or else it's going to get very confusing with these words. Okay, so now let's move on. Yes, again, complement, complement. Now the funny thing about these two words here is the pronunciation is also the same. Only thing is the letters E and I differs, right? But I'll show you another trick how to remember this. But first, let's see what is the meaning of complement with an E. Complement with an E means to go well with something. So you can see a picture of a tea and cookies there. So you can say the cookies go well with the tea. Or you can say a lock and a key. You can take the lock and the key. They complement each other because the key fits into the lock. They complete it. They complete each other, a lock and a key. So you have the word complete. Remember the word complete. So for the word complete, you have E there. So you remember this E here, complete. So when something is going well with one another, when something fits, that's when you write a complement with an E. Okay, now moving on to the next complement with an I, the meaning of that is to say something nice to someone. If you like something in someone, you're giving them a compliment. You look beautiful today. You have a nice bag, so you're complimenting, isn't it? And most of us, we do like a compliment once in a while, isn't it? And if I say, I like a compliment, I like a compliment. So there is an I there. And you can remember the same I here in the word. I like a compliment. Once in a while, everybody does like a compliment. So remember that I, so that you will not misplace the letters in these two words. So it's nice to work with the words and to have a way with your words, isn't it? To play around with the words like this. Next, this is very simple. It's all to do with the pronunciation. So just like dessert and desert, that's what is making us write incorrect spellings in the sentences. Here we say stationery, stationery for both. Well, that is incorrect. The first that we have here is stationery. N-A-R-Y, nari. So stationary means something which is immobile, which is stagnant, which is not moving. Stationary. Next, Stationery, nari, neri, stationery. That is basically your school supplies, your books and pencils and all that stuff. Okay, very simple. There's nothing much to learn about this here. You don't have to break a sweat. Okay, very simple. So remember these two words. Here we have a list of words, and the first one that we have here is especially, specially. And the meaning for it is given right below the word, and we do mismatch these words, and sometimes we don't even know the rules. We just use specially, especially wherever we want. So today we'll correct that, and we'll make sure that we'll use the right word in the right place. So especially is to do something with being specific, something very specific. For example, the children work hard every day, especially the girls. So you're specifying among the children, you're specifying the girls. Next, specially. Specially is for a reason or for a purpose. For example, the cake is specially made for his birthday. Specially made for his birthday. So the birthday is the reason. Okay, that's the difference. Now next one, farther and further. So every time we keep hearing people saying further down the lane, further down the street, further, that's totally incorrect. Now you have to remember this. Farther is for distance. Now if you're saying something, you have to go and get something from somewhere, it's talking about the distance. So you remember this word has far here in it. So far is telling you about the distance. So remember, farther down the lane, not further. So further you have to be using it for in addition to that. Moving further. Moving further from this topic to another topic. So that is in addition to this topic to another topic. So that's the difference between these two. Now older and elder. Older and elder, if somebody asks you how many siblings do you have? And if you say I have an older brother. I have an older brother. No, that is not correct. Because when you're talking about a third person, that is when you use older. When you're talking about your own siblings, that is when you use elder. You will say, I have an elder brother. She has an older brother. So when you're talking about someone else. So that's the difference. Don't get confused between older and elder. Elder is for you, older is for others. Next, altogether, altogether. They sound similar. In fact, they sound the same. The only difference is the spacing between the words. All together, spacing. So the first one is very easy to remember. The first one means on the whole. And the word itself is on the whole. There is no split in between the word. Right? So the second word, altogether, there is a split. Altogether, there is a split. So the meaning completely changes. Here you are talking about the place. Please come and assemble here all together. I want y'all to come and assemble here all together in one place. So one is telling you about the place, that is the one with the space. And remember that one with the space is talking to you about the place, or yes, the place. The other one without the spacing is talking to you about being whole altogether. The last one here we have is beside and besides. Very simple. Beside is a preposition that is next to. Besides, in addition to that, apart from that. The simple S, if you add or if you omit, it is going to matter a lot. So go through these words, be familiar with these words, try to practice these words, only then you're going to get it right. Yes, I have to tell you about these words here, and you can see these words over here. Now, we tend to have the same pronunciation for all these three words. There, there, there. But actually they have different pronunciations which you have to learn. Okay, the first one, there. It's talking to you about possessing something. It's their dog. It's their house. There. Okay? The second one, there. There. Here you're talking about a place, right? I asked her to put it there. The third one, it's a contraction. Now, why do we call this a contraction? Because we are joining two words. We are joining they plus are. Together, it becomes there with an apostrophe, and it's called a contraction. Now, how do you pronounce that? There. They're having a party. They're going to school. They're coming home tomorrow. So there's a difference between all these three words and the way it is pronounced as well. Now, if you look into this picture here, we do have other words just like that. Your, then, than. Okay. Then, yes, where, were, where. We use the same pronunciation most of the times, where. But the first one, where do you live? Where have you been? The second one, were. Were you present yesterday? If I were to be rich. The last one, do you wear a sweater? Do you wear warm clothes? Okay, so here I have to tell you another thing which I've already taught you all in the class, but I'm reminding you all once again. You should always kiss your W's and bite your V's. So that's when you're going to get your W's and V's right. Kiss your W's, bite your V's. That is watch, water, where. You can see how my lips are coming forward. When, watermelon, right? V's. Move, vast, vain, right? So you should always remember to kiss your W's and bite your V's. That's when you can make out the difference between the pronunciation of W and the pronunciations of V's when you speak. Okay, remember that and do practice. Practice right now, at least for some time. Yes. Now looking at this slide, you will be confused. You were learning the commonly confused words and now you have animals on this slide, isn't it? But we tend to confuse the names of the animals as well. If I would have shown you this animal here and asked you what it was, you would have told me it's a tortoise. But there is a clear difference between these two. A turtle has flippers and the tortoise, it has legs to walk on the ground. Here the turtle's shell is soft, the tortoise has a hard shell. And turtles are marine creatures. Tortoise, it lives in rivers. That's the difference. And we have another creature here, and the difference is in the snout. Here we have a V-shaped snout, here we have a U-shaped snout. So ones with V shape we call them crocodiles, the ones with the U shape we call them alligators. Now these are minute details which goes unnoticed, and we are so habituated to use these mistakes over and over again, and we tend to think that it's correct. We don't realize that it's a mistake. So don't commit these mistakes. You have learned some of the commonly confused words and the animals as well. So you should remember, don't let this go overboard. You should remember this and use it in your daily conversations. Okay, so the main key here is to practice. Practice makes perfect. You know that very well. So what happens if you don't practice? You tend to forget again. So make sure you have learned so many words today. So make sure that you at least pick one set of words and use that in your daily conversations, maybe with your siblings or with your parents. Okay, keep practicing, only then you're going to remember it. And what happens if you don't use something? It gets rusted, right? So that's what is going to happen. So keep practicing and remember these words. Very important. The bottom line is remember these words. Okay, so that now to test your brains, I have a link given for y'all. So it's called Do You Know Me? So the link has many animals in that, some of which you may know, some of which you don't, or you might be confused. So it's a nice activity that you can do. It is a quiz. So please take that quiz and get to know your animals better. Okay. Now you have the link there. Follow the instructions. It will lead you to the page and have fun with it. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening.